Hello YouTube, so in this video I'm going to talk about an observation that I've made. And by doing so, this will be my first legitimate party video. So far my political videos have expressed positions and points of view, but I haven't really identified a specific set of goals. I'd like to talk about the educational system. This criticism I apply from first-hand experience in the US, and quite a bit of what I've heard about the educational systems of the rest of the world as well. Since my particular ideology isn't locked to just one nation, nor are the criticisms of education that I have, though I'll be using the United States as the example. My educational agenda in a line: every child must learn to govern the state. Our educational system produces obedient factory workers. In my opinion, it should produce citizens. We have an educational system that groups people based on their age, not their advancement rate. We have an educational system that provides irrelevant or inaccurate information, and cuts to educational spending have consistently made the task of educating people, even with poor and irrelevant information, done badly to add insult to injury. So let's start with the second criticism: irrelevant or inaccurate information. Let me tell you what an American learns about politics in school, or at least what I learned when I was in middle school and high school. I have a fairly mixed educational background, complete with some shifting between public school, private school, and independent study, so I do feel I've sampled the various bitter flavors enough to be reasonably qualified in commenting on them. When I learned about the Soviet Union, capitalism and communism, systems of economics and government, and democracy, I learned that communism was bad and capitalism was good. I learned that democracy was the perfect system of government, and capitalism was the best economic structure. Not just better than the rest, mind you, not flawed but better, but perfect. So perfect, in fact, that actually learning about other forms of government and economics is unnecessary. All I was really told about communism in my textbooks was that they took away private property and that Stalin killed a bunch of people. That's really all you learn about communism. You're not shown anything good. You're shown the worst aspects that can possibly be found, with a hefty amount of deception sewn in. When you learn about the Soviet Union in America, you never listen to a speech by Vladimir Lenin. You never learn anything about Marxist ideology. You don't know the difference between Leninism and Stalinism, and actually having an interest is stigmatized. I was shown only the worst of the worst that could possibly be found from communism, the best of the best that could be found from capitalism, and that was presented to me as a fair and unbiased education. The biggest thing you learn about communism is about how many people Stalin killed, and that was the major focus when I was in school and the Soviet Union was covered. How crazy was Stalin? The impression you gain from the way the information is presented is that the communists are godless atheists who hate freedom and hate liberty, and they're evil and round up and kill people, and that's why communism is bad, because they kill a bunch of people. That's pretty much a description of what you learn in the United States. That's the impression you're imprinted with, and people still say communism is bad well into adulthood, under the pretense of how many people get killed. Right, because us proud capitalist Western nations totally never did anything like that before. Well, actually, no, we didn't do anything like that before. At least, you're not told that we did. You see, you're not told about any of the bad things the United States has done. You're told Hitler did a massive genocide called the Holocaust, but that's played off as a reason why he was evil, and the United States are the good guys in World War II. The books don't tell you about where Hitler got the idea, where he got the name from, and who he copied. In reality, he copied us, the United States. Hitler had a name for his plan. It was the final solution to the Jewish question, and he got the name from a similar American plan referenced as the final solution to the Indian problem, and it worked out quite well for us, which is why Hitler copied the idea. But you don't learn that in school. Let me tell you how I actually found out about the Indian genocide. This was during my private school stay. I, being a good Christian boy, firmly believed at the time that America was a proud Christian nation founded by Christians with one nation under God, being in the Pledge of Allegiance since 1776. And of course, as with all good Christian boys, I dreamed of enlisting in the military and dedicating my life to protecting the proud Christian nation and purging the enemies of America, because, as was commanded in the Old Testament, we needed to keep our lands pure. I was so dedicated to that when I was 14 or so, I was browsing through casualty files one day. I made it a habit to study the military history of the United States extensively, in the interest of improving upon strategies so that God would bless us with further victories over our enemies. And I came across something interesting: a large number of casualties booked under something called Indian Wars. This confused me. I had studied the history books I was given in class intently. I made a habit never to miss assignments, even if sick or absent, and I had never heard of these Indian Wars. So I decided to do a little research, and I find myself discovering things that were left out of the textbooks. And this brings us back to the point on the Soviet Union. You learn that democracy is without flaw, and capitalism is without flaw, and that communism is bad, because communists kill lots of people. But the fact that us proud capitalists also round up people and slaughter them en masse is a fact that's conveniently overlooked. Even today, most people I meet in America still hate socialism, or those who are more rebellious love socialism, though neither can ever accurately define it. I'm not saying that I think communism would work, nor am I claiming that a communist educational system is any less indoctrinative. But the fact of the matter is that this is a deception. You learn democracy and capitalism are perfect, and you don't learn why, just that they are. You learn communism is evil, and you don't learn why, just that it is. It's an indoctrination. You're trained to be loyal to the capitalist system, even if you don't understand capitalism or socialism or communism. Our education removes people's critical thinking skills. It's a lobotomy, with the child's ability to reason and question being surgically removed and replaced with blind loyalty. And this seems to be the case all over the Western world. I'm more often asked about my political positions by people who disagree and have the arrogant expectation that I have no answer than I am by people who actually want to know. And when people are loyal to a particular stance first and to reason and critical thinking second, that's a problem, because it's no longer a path of using reason to establish a position. It's about establishing a position and maybe using reason once in a while when it suits the person in question. It's like I said in the Obama study video. People believe what they want to be true, and if science and reason don't serve that purpose, they are discarded. Even if they do serve that purpose, they're often discarded because they're no longer the priority. I, at one time, like everyone else in this country, believed I had a firm grasp on what communism was, and that I knew enough to justify hatred of it, and believed that I had an informed opinion, but that simply was not true. I never listened to a speech by Vladimir Lenin, I never read any Marxist literature, and yet I was constantly told that I was well informed on the subject. And at this point, people try to justify it. Communism is bad, that's why it's okay to teach kids to hate communism. No. If something is true and correct, you shouldn't have to hammer it into the brains of children that are young enough to still believe in Santa Claus. And here is where my political agenda is pushed. The meritocratic position would be that if you're right, and you can defeat communism so easily, you shouldn't need to censor the books, nor should you fear presenting both ideologies fairly. If you're so strong, why are you so afraid of a fair fight? The way I want it done is that history books teach actual history, including the genocide on the Indians, where Hitler got the name for the final solution from, etc. History books need to present facts, not deceptive opinions. You never actually watch a debate between a communist and a capitalist. You never get exposed to different points of view, and that needs to change. I want both sides represented fairly. When I was in school, I never got an assignment to research Vladimir Lenin's ideology and write a paper on it, yet I was considered well informed about communism. When learning about economic policy, I didn't learn about inflation or the circumstances surrounding the Great Depression, and most Americans I meet don't understand the economy. Many don't even understand what inflation is. A man can hate socialism and be unable to define what socialism is. I want an educational system for the future that's better than the one I was given because I'm thoroughly unimpressed. A high school paper should challenge a student to think and to question, instead of teaching children capitalism good, communism bad. Both ideologies should be presented fairly so someone can make up their own mind, and that should start before high school. They must be challenged to think and decide for themselves. By the end of middle school, the average student should have a grasp of what the economy is, and how it functions. By voting age, someone should understand what socialism is, and be able to decide for themselves if they want it or not. A student should understand the medical industry, a government's role, the purpose of taxation, etc., so that they can perform their civic duties as a citizen of the nation. It was once said that the best argument against democracy was a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. The average voter's incompetence is unacceptable to me. A child learning about the Soviet Union should learn about the theories that founded it. An intellectually stimulating paper for a high school student should be to write on various economic and social principles, to understand the economy, to understand and see different ways of viewing the world, and most important of all, by seeing conflicting viewpoints and doing research on both, that will teach critical thinking and a readiness to question. The educational system's job is to produce citizens informed enough to perform the civic duties attributed to them. That includes being a well-informed voter, because contrary to what a democracy might imply, an uninformed person who has no idea what capitalism is or what socialism is has an opinion that is, in fact, not of equal value to someone who has a firm grasp on what both are, and facts are not up for democratization. A democracy will not move forward without an informed citizenry. When one is lacking, the democracy devolves into groupthink, mob mentality, and sheep-like manipulations from those with media control, and that doesn't offer me an acceptable standard of freedom or liberty. Panem et circenses. One video is not enough to explain my policies for education. I'd like to make ones criticizing other aspects of the educational system, as well as put forward a reform and updated model that I've been working on, but that'll have to wait until later. I'll see you next time.